Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a very special New Year's edition of Master Phil in your corner with your host, Master Phil.
Yeah, I know that always messes me up too. I don't know which hand's up, which direction it's going. It's crazy. This whole transverse thing. I think I'd figure it out by now. I've only been on camera for who knows how long. But guys, 2020, huh? What a ride. Well, I can't say enough that I'm happy to have it over with. It's been a crazy time. If you said to me, this time last year, I'd be in this position right now. I'd be like, what are you talking about? That can't be true. It can't happen. Well, guess what? It did. And look where we are right now. And we got a mess on our hands, but you know what? We keep our resolve. We become more independent. We become tougher. We're going to come through this and we're going to come out on top. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to these challenges that we have ahead of us. Not too many people have noticed I had to, close down my main facility, sold the building, retooled everything, taken everything online with, the UbiquFit, the American Eagle Live. Now I got a spot. I'm renting space from a gym, local gym, Odyssey. Pared down the amount of classes I'm doing, but I'm still doing them. I'm working out of my house. Got a whole one of the garage bays, a garage and a half is now a full gym. It's sick. It's awesome. So I'm doing my workouts from there, filming from there on a daily basis. I have people come here. Very careful with the COVID, cleansing and so forth. It's been a challenge, but you know what? Hey, it's all about adaptability. Meet the challenge, adapt or die. But there's you have to keep your resolve. The funny thing is I pulled up a whole ton of statistics to read today. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. All this stuff is available. It's all available. I know, Doug, you sent, I posted a whole bunch of stuff. I sent stuff out. I sent you emails, this, that, and the other thing. But you know what? I'm like, I'm not going to talk to the stats. I'm just going to talk to everyone's heart and head today. I'm not going to bombard you with this and that, but a lot of this stuff is posted on the CDC. A lot of stuff you can find. If you can't find it, you can always email me. I'll send it over to you. But there's a lot going on out there, and the more dependent we become, the more freedoms we lose, and the less control you have over what happens to you. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to address that. And there's a couple things happened in the past couple of weeks that I really need to bring attention to. So we're going to discuss those, but we do have a special guest today. Great, very, very dear friend of mine. We met each other in kettlebells. I'll tell you, straight up, I know that I've said this before, but this guy, pound for pound, without a doubt, one of the strongest people around. Okay. And even not even just pound to pound, absolute strength. He's got some sick absolute strength. I've seen him move weight that a 300-pounder moves, and the guy's like 190 pounds maybe. Okay. Great body control, great philosophy, always trying to get better, always trying to, improve on his training methods and his delivery of his message as well. He's extremely successful. And we always have a great time. We're teaching together, hanging together, whether we're doing push-ups, pull-ups, or, having a beer. It's all the same. It's all good, And so without any further ado, I would love to introduce for a second round here on Master Phil in your corner, Max Shank.
Yo.
Read it.
Whoa.
You ho, ho, ho. You're very festive there, Max.
Thank you very much. Wow, what a lovely introduction. It's really makes me feel good to hear you say all those nice things about me. We've gotten together a lot of times. It's been a while now.
Yeah.
done some grappling, training. It's been how many years? Probably
Dude,
5.
I'm telling you, 5+. No,
10?
it's over 10. I'll tell you right now. We met in 2010.
In Minneapolis.
Yes.
It has been 10 years. Holy
Yeah.
moly.
I know. Decade, bro. Decade.
That's crazy, dude.
Nuts. I know. My little one was just born, and she's going to be 11 next month. Yeah, I know.
That's a doozy, man.
Oh, it's awesome. She hates me. I make her work out. Yeah.
Yeah, well, enjoy.
I make her do her math. I make her do her extra reading because the garbage stuff they get into school is a joke. So.
Well, I mean, you want to introduce school as the first topic? I'm going to get assassinated by the time this podcast. I can't think of a worse investment of 12 years.
Yeah, think about it.
I notice, like, professionally, we're held to such a higher standard. Like,
Mhm.
I've purchased coaching from people, right?
Mhm.
You're trying to get accountability and information. Hopefully high leverage information.
Mhm.
And you expect a return on that. You're talking about like big money, sometimes like 10, 20K a year, just specifically for business coaching of some kind.
Mhm.
Sometimes you're dealing with several thousand and just a weekend or something like that. And I
Mhm.
can think of a lot of different times where I've gotten way more value from one of those like brief and relatively inexpensive interactions.
Yep.
that really did improve the bottom line. And I have like the least popular opinion possible about public school. Like, all the incentives are in the wrong place.
Mhm.
So I think it actually does more harm than good, which, boy, that is like the perfect thing to say in a group full of parents, by the way. They love to say that.
Yeah.
But it's just a return on your investment. How much time are you putting in? How much money are you putting in? Where's that money coming from? And you think about where the efficiency of that is. And people who are like evaluating these things all the time usually are pretty frustrated. So the people who are creating the biggest change in the world are also the ones who are experiencing like nonstop frustration. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Like here's a point of contention. Like we have an interim superintendent. So he came out in September. So I hit him with an email and went back and forth a few times, and he asked for a meeting with me. So I'm like, okay. So I came in, and I didn't realize they had the whole board of education there.
Huh.
Okay. What? Okay. So one person, 10 people, whatever it is, I'll do. So, I mean, I like the guy. He, I had some serious concerns about, what we were going to do in this COVID situation, what the schooling was going to be like, when were you going to close schools? We're on like a hybrid thing where we can either do virtual or half day and half virtual and so forth.
Yeah. I should clarify that there are tons of like the most well-meaning good people in education.
Oh yeah.
It's just that the incentives are in the wrong place. The way that we test, the scheduling, the value that we put on things, what we teach, all that stuff. There are a lot of really good people, and kudos to anyone who wants to help provide to that next generation of what to do.
Hey, listen, I'm an educator. I'm a college professor. So, but I see both sides, because I see the bad stuff that's going on. And I know there's a lot of great, well-intentioned people in the system. And then I know there's a lot of bad things that are a lot of waste and inconsistency. But I just want to pull this one point up, because one of the things that is concerning me is the level of education and when they were going to pull the plug, and hey, Mike Deutsch, holy cow, Happy New Year. So they were going to my boy Moshe, man, from high school. Actually, we were friends in elementary school. So they had put forth this program, and I don't know if they're really adhering to it too well, but I want the kids in school. Okay. And then, you know, they're supposed to wait until you have 2 people with COVID in the class to shut it down, but that didn't happen. As soon as somebody sneezed the wrong way, they shut it and went virtual for a few days, make sure they checked it, and then, you know, went back on. So, but here's a couple of things that I posed the questions, and one of the major ones, and the superintendent like really drove this home with him. You know, again, he's coming in new. He got signed this summer.
Yeah.
I go, guys, you know, we all knew about this coming down the pike that we were going to have to teach virtually, right? And like, yeah. I go, well, what kind of training do we give our teachers? It was like, yeah. I go, teaching in a virtual environment is a lot different than teaching face-to-face. It's a whole different animal. Look, I did my whole master's online, you know, and actually I took this course. It's called the AQ course. It's the Association of College and University Educators. And actually, I'll pat myself on the back here. I finished the course relatively quickly. We have our graduation pinning ceremony. I got asked to present that. So I put together my PowerPoint. I'm doing that January 8th virtually. So, but we had a whole segment on teaching virtually. I mean, and I put together a whole protocol, and my whole department used it, sent it out to all their students. I sent it to all my students, a 10-point protocol on how to be successful in a virtual environment in school. You know, it's totally different than teaching. And then we're expecting these teachers to run face-to-face classes, hybrid, and total virtual. Come on, you got them doing 3 different things, and it's supposed to. So the level of education, how are you going to maintain a level of education like that? It's impossible.
Well, I think that's one of the good things that could come from this is school choice. And, you know, I think I like the phrase, the customer is always right, because it's not just good for the business owner trying to do good customer service. It's also probably the wisest form of governance there is, because then everybody gets to vote with every single dollar. So you're less likely to get a situation where the incentives, the risk, and the reward are in different places. Like right now, that's one of the biggest problems is that the people making the decisions, everybody's just flying by the seat of their pants.
Yes.
But the people making the decisions are not the ones who experience the consequences of those decisions. But if you are the customer, then that's exactly who bears the risk. And that is exactly who seeks to gain from that transaction as well. And over the very long term, people are more likely to be sold into some sort of good deal progressively. And that's how we've got all these technological advantages versus you know, the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, you got one guy making decisions for 40 million. That's the disconnect, right? There's no incentive for him to do the job that is best. There's only an incentive for him to do the job that enriches him the most.
Of course.
And if the risk is allowed to be accepted by other people, hey, OPM, that's the key to getting rich, other people's money. If you can accept no risk and still gain reward, why would you do anything different than that? So it's a very natural thing. And, you know, there's so much wrapped up into this, but I think school choice is a really good thing. I think, you know, the more options people have, generally the happy they are. But there's also kind of the cycle we're in right now of strong men make good times make weak men make hard times, and it kind of goes through this little
we're down here. We're in the weak men hard time, and we're in that hard time, I think, and we're gonna have to bring it back up.
I think kindness is really worth a lot, but I think you know, the more scenarios or rules that are enforced violently, the less switched on your culture probably is, right? Do we need to have the freaking stick holder hit people with the stick for doing the wrong thing all the time? How many things are really that big a problem? So I guess if I had to say there's a beef this year, number one, I don't have a beef. I got no problems. Comparison is the root of all suffering. I could think of any other time in history before 1500, and there would be some things that would be way, way worse, and some things that would be maybe a little bit nicer.
Mhm.
But anyone who's like, oh, this is like the worst thing ever, they're a
No.
fair weather fan. Don't be a fair weather fan and just be a fan of life when things are like really just going your
Yeah.
way.
You know, it's funny because you bring that up and just look at things. You know, what was before was a luxury is now a necessity. So that shows how,
Always.
yeah. I mean, so the more prosperous you get, things that were, oh yeah, hey, like here, I'll give you an example.
People don't go back down. I would not want to give up hot water. That's the bottom line. It seems like a necessity to me, really.
Yeah. But you know what?
The more, look, right now we're like living in this fantasy land where nobody knows how much counterfeiting dollars is going to do. No one knows like what all this legislation is going to do. Nobody has any idea the effectiveness or not effectiveness of locking down or not locking down, because you can't know the total benefit and you can't know the total cost, psychologically, physically, biologically. They're all considerations.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, if you do look at it, though, I mean, again, I had all the stats, but I'm not.
No, but what I'm saying,
but I'm looking at a general.
The trick is this: it's like you got to be like really clear that someone needs to be violently punished for the behavior that you're talking about, because that's what law is. Law is not some like ethereal thing. Law is literally just crime and punishment. You know. So it should be reserved for things that like actually need to be punished. Like,
right, but it's not. They're just arbitrarily being applied.
And here's the beef I do have if I had to pick one. It's not being applied across everybody equally. You know,
selective enforcement.
For thee, but not for me.
Right.
And like that's not my preference, of course. But here's what I'll say also. It's like, you got to really appreciate the fact that you live in America. You have to appreciate how much better it is here under this. Look, some people are afraid of Marxism. Some people are afraid of Plague 2.0. I think the most important thing we can all do is be compassionate for both those types of people, because our whole society is built off of the intermingling and cooperation of those two archetypes. Because you can't have all gas and no brakes. You know, that guy died fighting lions. There needed to be someone there. He's like, hey, dude, that lion looks pretty tough. And the guy's like, no, F you. I'm going to go fight that lion again. And the guy's like, no, seriously, that was pretty scary. I think avoidance is actually the right tactic here. Like, don't fight the lion. Yeah. And so we have like these two branches, which is action and avoidance. And once you get stuck down like a path of fearful avoidance, it's really hard to go back the other way. So there's like the psychological aspect of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's but you need both types of people, and I think that's maybe the main message I would confer to somebody is you should only focus on changing yourself, and you got to be compassionate for the people who are afraid of Marxism, and you got to be compassionate of the people who are like literally afraid that everyone's going to die of some like invisible thing. Like, that's what is so tricky here. You know, you don't have to believe anything, but you should be compassionate enough to understand that other people are going to believe something.
Well, here's one of the main problems I see with a lot of people when they I think everyone kind of starts out with that ideal. But then when they see something that's affecting them personally, and it's a direct result of a position that someone else has, it's kind of like, wait a minute, you're representing everything that's against me, and I'm being hurt by it. So now they think it's like a personal affront. This is where we have the rub. This is when emotions get high and conflict results.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing about conflict is there are really only two ways to work it out: with words or with swords. Yeah. And so I recommend that everybody practice each day with both, because those are like the symbols of human leverage and conflict resolution and cooperation. You know, I think learning how to write persuasively, I think organizing your thoughts on paper, like I got some notes here for today. I think that's a very powerful tool. I think that writing down your thoughts is an advantage that you can't get any other way. Like you can go to years of therapy, but it'll never give you the same resolution and clarity of mind that just writing down your own thoughts.
Well, let me ask you something. Here's something that's a bone of contention I always had. If you're going to years of therapy, what you're doing doesn't work.
Totally.
It doesn't work.
But actually, here's what I could say. It could be working, but like, let's not pretend it's something that it's not. You're just going to talk to somebody.
Exactly.
Someone listen to you, and that's a very valid. That's valuable to that person.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people go to the hairstylist not just for the hairstyle. They could probably do it on their own.
What about personal training sessions?
Yeah, trim your nails. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Come on, I get dumped on all the time. That's fine.
Dude, it's 90. And I'm in a pretty luxurious situation where I get to choose who I want to train. So for me, it's just hanging out with my friends. So I get to hang out with my friends and do what I would do anyway. And then for some reason, they pay me. So it's pretty cool.
Beautiful. yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
So it's about that human interaction. But the point that I'm trying to make is, if you are writing down your thoughts and you're organizing them in a cohesive way, and you're starting to clarify down what your principles are, that's part of the reason people are so damn confused. Is like, there's not really a good set of guiding principles that determine a person's behavior, because you can either have rules or you can have principles. And in computer programming, they talk about this kind of thing all the time. Like the most, they would probably call it like very caveman style programming, would be like just a big series of if-then statements.
Yeah.
If this, then this. If this, then this. If this, then this. And that's ironically what the Code of Hammurabi looked like, which is one of the first like rules of law. It was like, if you cut out a man's eye, your eye will be cut out. If you kidnap a woman, you have to marry her and pay her dad 50 silver shekels or something like that.
Cheap.
What? So it's all about just if-then statements.
Yeah.
But a much more valuable way to organize these bits of information is through like principles. So it's like when you learn Latin roots and prefixes and suffixes, you can derive the meaning. So if you have principles, you can derive what the correct course of action is.
Right.
The person has like no clear principles, because the only thing they have to go on is like the residual ego from their parents and the residual egos from the teachers that they've met in life, trying to assert their authority, because authority makes us feel like powerful and important.
It's funny that you brought up the principles, and if you look at, I can relate it easily to self-defense. I mean, you can look at it. If you're talking about rules, say you have, here are prescribed self-defense techniques. Person grabs your wrist, you do this, 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 and this. Okay, that's okay to start out with. It's okay to start out with, so people know how to move. But the thing is, I focus on the principles behind it. You want to focus on the principle of the technique. Okay, if they grab your wrist like this, there's a gap here. I want to go toward that gap. I know that their hand is occupied, so I can strike them to the head or kick them to the
principle there is that the thumb is the weak link, right?
Is the weak link. So I want to go against it. And also now, that side of their body is open because they're grabbing my hand. That hand's occupied.
You could also have another principle that says your grip is weakest when the wrist is in maximum flexion, right? I mean, you're going to have no strength here. No strength. So you can have the,
So you rotate that, and it's the principles, it's the axioms that you focus on, the specific technique, and then once they know what they're doing, I don't really care what technique they use, as long as they're applying the principle properly to the what's being done to them.
Well,
so that is the most important thing.
Well, if we're talking self-defense, I don't even care if they follow the principles, as long as they win.
They live. Yeah. I mean, and that's something that I want to bring up today. We're talking, something that brought to my mind. I mean, I have a very good friend of mine, and he moved out of town. He's got a business, and it's in a very tough urban area. Okay, and he does like medical transport, and he lives in a different state now. And he had a situation there where, I mean, the guy's like, he's like 60 years old. He's in good shape, but he doesn't like fight anymore, things like that.
Mhm.
So you can't remember last time he hit a heavy bag, and, some jacked 32-year-old guy working for him, took a mask and threw it at, the receptionist said, "Hey, you need this mask to do the ride." So he takes the mask, throws it back at her, then starts sending her text that he's going to choke her out, this, that, and the other thing. And now, yeah. And this guy was thrown out of his house for domestic violence against his wife.
That's
Really
appropriate reaction to that.
Exactly. So what does my friend do? I go, "You have to fire him." He goes, "Yeah, I did." Okay, so he fires him, but he goes, "Yeah, but here's what happened then after I fired him." The guy starts threatening him, threatening his life. "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to do this, that, and the other." He's like all paranoid. And I'm like, "I don't know, well, get a gun." He goes, I don't like guns. I go, "Well, why don't you like them?" But he went to the police and they said, now they couldn't serve the guy because they can't find where he is.
Right.
And the thing, he's got to come onto his property for the police to call for him to go and put the restraining order on him.
Right. I think so what I've done in the past with that is I just tell the person who's threatening me that I've reported this threat to the police. So if I die, they know that you're the one who did it.
Oh, yeah, he's done. Yeah.
Which is almost as effective as the restraining order, right? Because the reason he hasn't already killed him is because the reason he's threatening him is so he can get some of his aggression out, right? But if you have a record of that, it's almost as good. And quite frankly, I mean, you bring us to a good topic, which is like survival. I think so. There's a good word that I'm going to reveal on your podcast right now called Darwardism. Darwardism. I coined it myself. So that's a Max Shank original.
There you go.
Or good gems like
I'm
that.
find it in Shankopedia.
What's that?
I'll find it in Shankopedia.
Shankopedia.
Darwardism?
Yeah, Darward. So like Darwinism, but Darwardism. So Darwardism basically is the understanding that language has evolved along the same lines as.
Is there a D in that?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's Darward. That's word. That looks worrisome. It's Darward. Like
there's a D in there.
Yeah.
Give me the spelling. Give me the spelling.
DARWORDISM.
You're almost right.
Yeah.
Just missing the D.
Spelling's not my strong suit.
Yeah. So basically, the long and short of it is this: like language has evolved over time the same way that poison stingers and camouflage and warning spots have worked out. So the game that we're in is actually no different. It's whatever you're able to do.
Yeah.
So in nature, there are these natural laws, like whatever you're able to do, that's what you can do. Whatever you're able. It's not what the rules say necessarily. And it's still that way within the context of language, because that's how we resolve conflict now. So the lawyers, or I call them the word warriors, just like chop up the language so that it's as effective as like poisonous barbs and armor and camouflage, and it's really easy to hide certain truths and things like that.
Yep.
So you got to understand that as far as like the great game is concerned, it's still energy recycling. We're still just moving food. I mean, an orca has to eat 200,000 calories every day just to stay alive. So we have to consume calories to stay alive too. So it's still the same game of food. It's the great game of food. But your tools are words and also physical force. And those are really the only two things. And that's why I say you should practice every single day with a pen. And you should practice every single day with, it could be a stick, it can be a ball, it can be shadow boxing, it can be just moving around with a kettlebell and some weights. But, you got to look at risk in terms of probability. And it's impossible to really say with certainty what your probability of a violent altercation is. But here's the deal. Even if you never find yourself in a violent altercation, the cost of being a fragile, weak person is so heavy on your psyche. It's so heavy. If you are the type of person who can deliver a really hard strike with a stick or a fist or something like that, if you're the type of person who can run quickly, if you're the type of person who can do a shoulder roll instead of falling on their ass like a sack of potatoes, the whole world feels different to you.
Yeah, let's run back. Let's run back to that psychological aspect. Doug, I don't know if you can pull up a post I did. It's, you can look on IG, probably the quickest way to go, or about
Facebook as well.
I'm sorry.
Is it on Facebook as well?
Yeah. It's me with a knife, and I have a saying. I did it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I have a saying about knives too.
I'm sorry.
Sure. I have a saying about knives also. The pointy end goes into the other guy.
Yes, that's a good saying. That's a good saying. The business end. I'll tell you. I'm as you know, I'm big on knives. They're available. And here's the thing: when we're talking about stuff, when I'm trying to use my friend as an example, is that he has to wait in order to use the police. So if he goes, yeah, there you go. So if we see that, it says, I put like the Man Up Academy. I'm going to be doing something. We'll have to talk about that later. For a brave man dies but once, but a coward dies 1,000 times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd rather just face it and be done with it. And look, most of the times you're not going to die. I mean, I'm just talking about just anything in life. Like you're facing a conversation, you're facing a situation that needs to be resolved, a task, whatever it is. Face it instead, because if you don't take care of it, if you don't address it, it's going to be weighing on you. Now, if you run around afraid all the time, you're dying every time you go outside of your house. Look, when I go out, I know I can take care of myself. You can take care of yourself. Okay. Now here I'm looking at my buddy, and this poor guy is petrified every day. He's trying to work, and yet he's got that in the back of his head. And the thing is, you know what? If you want to rely on the police are there in minutes when seconds count. Okay.
Totally.
And listen, I love the police. Everyone knows I got a Blue Lives Matter flag, American flag, hanging off my front porch. You go see it, it's right there. I got 2 more for my black pickup truck. Okay. Matter of fact, you see, I got a shirt I got around right now underneath my sweatshirt is a police shirt. Okay. I'm a huge police proponent. I'm not saying anything against the police, but guess what? You have to protect yourself. Police are reactionary at best and investigatory. Well, they are not proactive in the protection of you.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, I know several law enforcement. They would tell you the same thing. Like they want you to be capable also, and everybody should want that. I mean, that would be the rational thinking, is that everybody has the ability to defend themselves. Everybody has the ability to lend a hand when necessary. I mean, you think about what kind of energy you bring or take from your circle of people, right? So if you are pleasant and useful in a lot of situations, well, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But if you're just a burden, you're going to feel that psychologically yourself. And, we really don't know the full extent of what that is like for somebody, but we can look throughout history. A lot of people have written about how most men lead lives of quiet desperation. And it's precisely because so much of their energy is spent doing things that are highly unnatural. So every time you're like fighting your instinct, you're like trying to shy what you are like just shrinking yourself big time. But it's an important skill. You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Yeah.
You got to know when to fight the lion or when to throw a rock and run the other way.
Yeah. The funny thing is that as we're talking, this is popping into my head, is that how with the whole toxic masculinity, all that garbage, and that we're trying not to make. Yeah, no,
that's just a word. That's just a word attack, right?
You
look at every little bit discreetly, and you think about it's just marketing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Marketing's better than ever. There's a reason for it. It's certainly not. It's not helpful. I say, as soon as you, the only way to have an enemy is to label them as such, because you shouldn't be against something. You should be for something. That's probably one of my strongest guiding principles, actually, is if you're against something, then you're actually for nothing. So, like, instead of being like anti something, just be for the thing that you want.
Right.
And even psychologically, that would change a person's life for the better if they
Oh,
just focusing on what they want to create versus then what they hate.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that, whenever you make decisions based on either hate or fear, they're not good decisions. And
well, that's
not good decisions.
Hey, Phil, I got another word for you if you want.
Go ahead.
Hypnocracy.
Hypnocracy.
Hypnocracy. So here's my
Can you
little
spell it out for me, or am I-
Try to spell it.
YPNOCRACY.
Yeah, well, if you look at it, and I can apply this to violence, okay? Because they don't, it depends on who you are. There you go. It depends on who you are expressing your dominance or your power or your strength, right? Because if like one group goes and shows strength and unity stuff, they're like, oh, this is bad, this is violent. Yet when like some group like Antifa goes and does violent acts and so forth, it's okay, it's accepted.
No. But here's the thing: there's always a double standard. It just matters whose marketing wins.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but what is the end result of this? So what they want to do is they want to just take down anything that's going to oppose what the agenda is by the social engineering, and it's actually destroying the balance of the country.
Yeah, well, it's divide and conquer, right? And the reason I say the word democracy is like, look, if you pump people full of fear all year long, you make them alone, you make them stay alone, how are they going to make a good decision?
Right.
It's not even really going to be possible for people to make a good decision.
Well, I have a word for you now. This is one of mine. Dividcity.
Oh God. Go ahead.
Dividcity. Instead of like you want this diverse, what they're really doing is dividing us.
Yeah.
So instead of diversity, it's dividcity.
Okay.
So shove a D in there.
Okay.
DIVIDISITY. Dividcity.
DIVID.
Yep.
Keep going.
ITSY. Dividcity. Because that's what they're doing to us. Okay.
Yeah.
That's dividcity.
So here's the deal. Like, I'm more of a Martin Luther King type.
One more S in there.
Where?
Before the T. Dividcity. SI. Yeah.
Here's what's so fun.
There's an SI in there.
So here's what's like so weird about this whole toxic masculinity, toxic whatever. Like it's so odd to me because the last thing a rational person would want to do is label themselves as a thing.
Yeah.
It's like the only people who think blackness or whiteness matters are racists.
Yeah.
That's what's so ironic about the whole thing. No one should care. No one should care if you have something dangling between your legs or if you have melanin content in your skin. Like, are you kidding me? Like, everybody already likes whoever they like.
Yeah.
Everybody already likes whoever they like.
Right.
People love The Rock. People love Taylor Swift.
Right.
And, like, people already just like whoever they like, and people have the freedom to choose. The only thing that it opens the door for is like weird types of like sinister like word violence. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing for us to all believe something. Like, believe in God, that's great. If you believe in Zeus, like a different god,
Buddha,
more power to you. It's just like you have to be a little bit like more forward thinking to like draw a harder line between what is something that we would want versus what is something that we need to enforce with fucking violence. I mean, with effing violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Where was the direct on the phone for that one? That is
it's
ridiculous.
But so what we I want to roll it back a little bit and get onto what we were discussing beforehand. The fact that if you know how to handle yourself, if you feel confident in yourself, by you putting in your hour or maybe 3-4 hours a week working out, let's say 4 hours a week working out, you do a little martial arts, you swing some kettlebells, whatever you're doing, okay, hitting a bag, using a stick, playing with a knife, you feel like something. You feel like if you throw a punch at somebody, it's going to have some damage. You feel like you can use a stick properly, use a knife properly, or run if you have to.
It's
right?
just fun. It's just
right. I love doing it.
If you did 20 minutes a day with a pen and 20 minutes a day with a stick, you would eat your competition for breakfast in 2 months.
Yep. I'll tell you, look, I have several notebooks. I have several notebooks going for several different enterprises with all of my notes here. I write stuff down all the time. I have them right at one. I was just working on this one this morning. I got these two over here. I did them yesterday. I write stuff down. You have to write. You have to train your brain. You have to train your body. They work together. So what we're trying to say here is educate yourself and prepare yourself. Same thing has to go with this. And I know we're speaking ad nauseum, but you know what? I mean, there's another thing on the CDC. The one thing I posted last week about they ran another study. This data is from the CDC. People can look it up themselves. But preparing yourself, being of a proper weight, getting the proper nutrition. If you do those things, if you exercise your proper weight and getting the right nutrition and vitamins, guess what? The COVID, this feared virus, will have a significantly diminished effect, and you may even avoid it altogether. But what are you doing? You're making your chances better. Are you going to, if you're in great shape, and I know that the news is so quick to point out, the one personal trainer who got it and died or whatever. Okay, great. Yeah, that's an outlier. But how about the 9 million other ones who didn't die?
Well, Phil, I mean, what you're talking about, though, I mean, that's how stories work, right?
Yep.
It's just what narrative is perpetuated by which entity. Because every time you absorb any new piece of information, you got to ask yourself, like, what's the incentive for this person writing it? Because they're not going to write it for any other reason than to get psychic energy or like monetary energy. So people do all kinds of different virtue signaling. And also, what ends up happening is some people abstain from saying certain things in order to prevent like a loss of some kind. Like, one of the things that I've done over this past year, I mean, I have a lot of opinions about things. I have an opinion on almost everything.
No, not you.
I don't think it's necessary. I don't think my opinions have anything other to do with reality than my unique perspective, though. Everybody's got their unique perspective. In fact, that's what I would encourage people to remember is like, your perspective is so different than everybody else's. Like, it doesn't really make sense to just like take someone else's word for it.
No.
You know what I mean? And you just got to be so cautious, no matter what is crossing your field of vision. Because I mean, part of there's a lot like interwoven into this, and I would say that one of the things I've done over the past year is I've just shut up and continued to basically take the money with the online programs that I sell. Because look, I mean, I would recommend anybody take what they know, take what they're passionate about, and put it in something that you can hand to somebody. It's really hard. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to have a lot of delayed gratification. You're going to put in a ton of effort. You're going to get absolutely nothing for it. But, I was able to like swallow my ego, just shut up about the whole bat flu thing we got going on here. I mean, who knows, like, is it more about petrodollars? Is it more about Marxism? Is it more about a biological threat? Is it some big psyop? No one's looking for my opinion. They're maybe looking for me to help them with their movement.
Yeah.
So I think, and I wish I felt more comfortable sharing what I actually feel about these certain things. But the reality is that you can lose like a ton of your business, because there is like so much. People have like a hair trigger right now. It seems, you know, they're willing to just like totally write you off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know, again, strange times. You know, and you said, yeah, you know, one of the things that you know that you're talking about a message and why people are giving a message, why people have an opinion on something, you know, and look, do I benefit financially from people taking self-defense with me or doing my training, whether in person, online? Heck yeah. But you know what though? But I do it because A, I believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
B, I know it works. C, I know whatever I'm getting involved in, I know that if they follow, they're going to have a better life. If I can do that for somebody, my goal's accomplished. I've always been about trying to have people live better longer, live a better life, enjoy your life through working out, through being healthy, through learning how to protect yourself. And look, and you know, I even say, and I say, you know, maybe you don't like my type of work. I can't understand why you wouldn't, but it's not for everybody. You know, what I like doing. If you don't like my stuff, then find somebody else that will stimulate you, and whether it's Zumba, whether listen, the stuff my wife does. I mean, I love watching her do it, but I'm not doing it. Okay? She's jumping all around. She's got a ton of followers. People love her, right? She's awesome at it. But guess what? I'm not doing it. I don't like it. But do I think somebody should do that? If you don't like what I'm doing, well, do that. If you don't like what she does, then find something else.
I think there's a really good message there, which is if you find something you enjoy doing, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get good at it. It's going to be a lot easier to stay consistent at it. It's like over the years, I changed my style of training so many times. I'm like 15 years now, right?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I used to say, oh, everyone who trains with me, we do this, this, and this. Everybody who trains with me, now we do this, this, and this. But now it's like I meet somebody, I get to know them a little bit. I try to figure out what kind of things they enjoy doing. And, you know, the reality is I know that what I put together for people is mega optimizing for their speed, their strength, their mobility. Like I know for sure it will be. But if someone would prefer to just like take a yoga class and run on the beach, I think they should do that. I think if they prefer that, they should just do that. And if they make it a part of like everyday habit, not just a sometimes thing.
Right.
Like whatever it is, you should want to do it. Like it shouldn't be like I think the worst things exercise can be is like penance for food choices you made. That's like a weird kind of twisted human stuff, right? And then the other thing can be like forcing yourself to do something you don't really want to do. Like there are so many good choices for exercise and physical activity. You don't even have to pick one you don't like.
The only time I would ever disagree with that is that when you're fighting competitively. I used to do stuff.
Hold on a second. Am I talking about competitive athletes?
Talk about long walks on the beach and yoga, Phil.
Yeah, the competitive athletes should just like go for a jog on the beach. They shouldn't bother with that like weightlifting or any of them fancy exercises.
No, because when I was competing, the road work was, I hated the road work. Okay, but I had to do it. So my instructor coach would always say, make sure you do something in your routine that you absolutely hate. And I'll tell you what, because when you're there covered up and a guy's wailing on you, and you know that you got up every day and ran 6 miles, and you're not going to lose. You're going to say, screw you, pal, and go back at him because you did something you hated that long. You're not going to let this guy take the win from you.
Well, and there's something I really like about that, and it actually fits with the like you got here. I like the red and the blue. So there are different kinds of mental toughness you get from temperature. So I have my pool's cold right now, but I got the cold plunge too, and the steam and the jacuzzi and the sauna. And staying in something hot versus getting into something ice cold is like a different kind of like psychological battle. You know, taking the plunge, there's that phrase, right?
Yep.
And then if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, maybe is the other one. So I actually have a harder time in the steam shower. Like once it gets, and I'm probably from like some sort of northern mountain region. I don't think I'm like Brazilian ancestry or something like that. Although I really like their philosophy in a lot of ways. No.
When you're waiting for.
Let me correct that. I like the philosophy that my jujitsu school embodies. Like they're really cool. But no, I come from like a cold climate, probably evolutionary wise.
Yeah.
So it's much more difficult for me to stay in the hot. And that's that like mental toughness you're talking about. If you do something that is really hard, something you really don't want to do, but you do it anyway, you get something out of that you don't get out of the like, dancing around.
That's funny because, we did a podcast, a few podcasts back about make yourself uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Become uncomfortable, whatever it is. I mean, there's certain things I do purposely to make myself uncomfortable. I'll go, I live in the Northeast. I mean, I'll go walk my dog at night and it's very cold or whatever. Sometimes I take a cold shower, just to do it. I, did the whole thing where I ran for 2 miles with water in my mouth and spit it back in a cup,
There you go. That's a good one. That's uncomfortable.
Feels very uncomfortable. It's a lot harder than you think too.
Yeah.
I did it twice just to make sure I can do it. Huh?
Listen, I recommend anyone listening to this, try a little run walk. Start with just a walk with a mouthful of water and add like a little bit of jogging in there. Nobody has ever drowned that I've had do it, so you should be perfectly safe. It is like one of the most interesting experiences, though. I mean, I used to breathe through my mouth, like all, and probably the biggest change in my overall health, well-being, calmness, like sense of like all that stuff. It just has this crazy domino effect to every part of your life, and the reason is it's kind of rare. Shockingly enough, the nose meant for breathing, the mouth is meant for eating and talking. And the more you breathe through your mouth, it's like a signal to your nervous system that says you're in a fight or flight type of mode. So you're going to go sympathetic if you're breathing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I had bad sinus issues for years. I had it broken 4 times and it was fixed twice. But I had allergies and so forth, and I mean, I used to get 7 shots a week up until 25 years ago, and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. So what I do is I started taking a liquid mineral, and I've been taking them for 25 years now. The sinus infections, I like, Doug, I mean, knock wood, I'll probably get sick next week. You see me, how often do I get sick? You've like never seen me get sick. I know. So, I mean, and if I am, it's like one day, and what I do too, and this is like, I keep my sinuses healthy. I do a neti pot when I need to. And, sometimes I just do it prophylactically in the winter. But another thing I do is I use this Oblas. It's a peppermint nose stick, and I sniff it. And then I use X-Clear, the saline solution, 2 squirts each side, once or twice a day as a preventative. I'll tell you what, keeps me going. And then if I need to at night, I put a little beryllium in my nose, open up the passages, keeps my sinuses going. Because there's 2 major things in my mind.
Beryllium?
Beryllium, yeah. It's white.
Doug, you want to spell that one?
I have to write it. Beryllium. Okay, it's BOROLEUM. Beryllium. Stuff is it's like it's a salve. You can that's a beryllium. You can use it on like cuts or chafing or chapped hands, but I use it in my nose.
I do the peppermint in the nose. Take a little peppermint oil, rub it on.
I got the little peppermint thing, but it's a salve and you put it in there and it works great. That has helped me dramatically because the way I look at it this way, and I'm just talking just from pure empirical data, what I've experienced myself and what I've seen others do, is if your sinus health and your gut health are good, they're huge barometers for your whole body and for your continued health. Like, that's why I take my probiotics I eat a lot of vegetables and fresh fruit and stuff like that. I keep my gut as healthy as I can and my sinuses healthy. And those two things kind of help me out a lot.
Talking about like the most important tubes, right?
Right, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Humans, big glorified donuts. We're just like worms, basically. We got the center tube for the food, we got the tube for the air. And I mean, I say people don't often understand, but I would just say we don't really talk about much just how important oxygen is to all the processes of all of our cells. Like you go, it's turtles all the way down. You just keep going down and down and down. Between the way that our cells like make energy and cellular respiration and things like that, you might not even know how much better you could feel because you just sort of like accepted like, oh, this mouth breathing stressed out life, but you have no clue what a week of healthy bowel movements and nose breathing walks would do for you. I mean, isn't that funny, right? If you went on like a walk, nose breathing only every day, and you had a good healthy bowel movement, you could probably live a really long time just on that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing that's really funny about lifespan is it's all over the place. The only thing like they don't really know like what's going to make you live a really, really long time. They have all these guesses, and whatever they're selling, usually that will make you live a long time.
Yeah.
But
so the next thing comes out.
But the one thing that is like really easy to see is there's like no 90-year-olds who are 300 pounds.
Yep.
That's all. Like you don't have to be mean about it. It's just a reality. Like there aren't like super heavy old people.
No.
There are kind of heavy old people. Like you can be
overweight.
Pounds overweight, like no big deal.
No big deal.
If you're 100 pounds overweight, you will probably die sooner. And what's funny about that is a lot of people knowingly make that decision in a lot of situations. I think of like sumo wrestlers and linemen in the NFL. And it's like, look, who am I to say that guy should be like doing Pilates and eating green salads so he can add 10 years to his life? He's like, no, dude, I'm fine. Take the 10 years. I'm going to get a Super Bowl ring. I'm the man. And I think that's where, make whatever decision you want, like accept the consequences. But, this obsession with like, oh, I got to get everything dialed in so that I live a long time versus doing things that are invigorating right now is, part of the issue. Although humans love the game kick the can. Like we just want to kick it down the road a little further. Like we'll do it tomorrow.
Why do today we can put off till tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. Or in my case, like next year.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, people don't realize that if you look at the history of the human being, what were we designed as? We were designed as, if you look at our structure.
By the way, I can't hear you. I can't wait to hear this. I'm ready. Yes. What were we designed for?
Right? We were designed to be the world's best long distance, warm weather travelers, runners. Okay? Because if you look at us, we're relatively hairless compared to many other animals, right? So we can sweat. So the sweat will wick off of us. The way our cardiovascular system is set up, the way we breathe and so forth, our structure, we are meant to go over long periods of time. Look, we're not fast like a cheetah, right? We're not strong like a silverback gorilla.
Nope.
Okay, so we're not standing and fighting, and we're not going to sprint and jump on something and take it down.
Yeah.
But we can track things for a long time. We can wear out an antelope. Stay on it. It'll sprint, and then eventually they'll get tired, and then we'll take it down. Okay, that's what we're made to do.
And we have that really nice relationship with gravity because we're vertical mostly. So everything's just like stacked. So moving, as long as you keep that stacked, that's going to be the minimum amount of energy required, right?
Right, and well, if you look at why so many people are obese in this country and out of shape and sedentary, is because we sit on our butts. We're not doing what we're designed to do. You're supposed to be up and walk.
Yeah.
I mean, I make sure that I walk all the time. Okay. Yeah, and this is what I do every morning, Max. Every morning I get up. But I actually do my squats first because I hate them the most.
Yeah.
But I do every morning. I do 50 squats, 50 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. Those planks, I just do them whenever. I do my neck, and I do bridges, 10 bridges, and I do neck exercises every morning.
You know, you got to do 5 reps or less to get strong, though, Phil. That's what I heard this guy say.
Oh yeah, that works.
I heard this guy say that.
Yeah, 5 reps or less. Yeah.
No, it's funny though, isn't it? I mean, we have all of these myths that we believe.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Herschel Walker is just eating them for breakfast, doing only push-ups and hill sprints, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like 1,000 push-ups a day.
People hardly know what works. It's just that people are very good parrots. And I would just build off of what you said about our hunting ability, right? You know, really what truly separated us was just how well we could plan. And then written language, it was like game over for everybody else.
That was it, yeah.
It was game over because then instead of like, you know, relying on passed down information, which like orcas have, by the way, they have their own languages across different pods. They have different hunting strategies, different parts of the world. And that's
it's so cool to watch.
all learned behavior.
Yep.
But that's still dependent on that like genetic line, and there's some sort of limit, right? But you look to written language, I have 2,000-year-old books that I can read. Like that's insane. And not only that, everybody else can read all those same books, quickly refer back to them anytime. I mean, we created a brand new universe that is basically this Homo sapien conspiracy called language. And we were smart enough to write stuff down. And it's like I say sometimes, ink beats memory every time.
Oh yeah.
So it have like this crazy compound effect where like, dude, who do you think has second place in the animal kingdom? It's not even close.
No,
like, take something like the orca, which a human would have no chance against, and then, you know, like it or hate it, but we managed to train them to do tricks.
Yeah.
You know, how about chimpanzees? 1v1 battle, they would absolutely destroy us, but we test makeup on them, basically. You know, it's crazy. It's like no contest, but it's all based on cooperation. So you need to learn those cooperative skills, and the only way you're going to do that is if you like choose your words a little bit more carefully and think about what energy you're creating with those words that you do choose to deliver. And I know, like, look, a lot of people get bent out of shape and they say things they wish they hadn't said. It happens all the time, you know, but if you don't practice with your words, you're not going to have a chance to get good at it. If you don't practice with learning the ways of force, not to be confused with the ways of the force, which is for Jedis only.
It's like a farce.
That's my elite level course. Is I teach Jedi skills.
Well, I do the Vulcan mind meld.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, just throwing it out there.
But I think kind of circling back to the people listening, you're not going to change the world except with everything that you do all the time anyway. So you might as well just focus on changing yourself. Get your thoughts organized together, think whatever you want to think, and realize there's no direct relationship between effort and value. You know, everything you do, like if you're talking about professionally, you should just think about what value you can create for somebody. It doesn't matter how much time it took you. It doesn't matter how hard you tried. None of that stuff matters at all. That's one of the things I like about business is it just tells you right away what's important because the customers don't lie. They just buy.
It's funny.
Or don't.
Yeah, you talk about effort versus reward or value, effort versus value. Look, if I go and I make a flyer for my business, relatively easy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But guess what? I could get a lot of people coming.
Maybe,
right?
So there are 3 things there I think that are super important. So you have effort, you have value, and you have cost. And those are really interesting because they have no intrinsic relationship with one another. There's no relationship between value and cost even directly. A lot of time you get something and the value to you, because value is always individual,
Yes.
could be way more than the cost, or it could be way, way less. I mean, look, a big sack full of gold is very valuable unless you're offering it to a drowning person.
Toilet paper during a pandemic.
Yeah, then it's got a negative value, right?
Well, look,
How about oil this year? I mean, look, I would say I'm not a conspiracy guy, but we all are. We're all conspiracy guys. We're all just making like these wild ass guesses at what actually is going on. The people are playing Candyland while the politicians are playing 3D chess. It's like ridiculous. Like, we don't know. But like, look at what oil did this year. Oil was minus money.
Yeah.
For a little bit. Not, hey, go out and buy yourself a barrel of oil. Oh, you got some of that worthless thing that we used to call black gold? Yeah, you can pay me and I'll come get it. It's like, wait a second, what? I mean, there is no relationship between value, cost, and effort. So that's good news, actually, for anybody listening, because you can create a ton of value for someone without necessarily having it cost you a lot of effort.
Well, you know, if
get like, because I'm sure really there are two ways we can help someone today for the new year, because it's a good time, good catalyst for change, right? You're going to improve yourself physically. You're going to improve yourself mentally. Both of those are going to contribute to how you live in the world. I mean, I got some friends who are doing really fine, doing really well this year. And I know other people who've had their lives completely torn apart. So you just got to do the best with what you got. But it's always going to come back down to what you can do for yourself and what you can do for the customer. And you just become militantly focused on those two things. Don't worry about like those, how hard you tried or what it cost. It doesn't matter. It's just about what value you can get.
Exactly.
You give.
You know, like if we're go back to what we were talking about before. So I create this flyer for my business. Whatever, it's not too difficult to do.
Right.
But chances are, you know, I will get some benefit from that. Now, if I take a 300-pound rock and push it up a hill, okay, that's very hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of effort. What am I going to get for that?
Well, okay, Phil, that actually reminds me, you might be the first one to do it. No one so far has accepted my ultimate mental toughness challenge. Do you think you can do it?
What is it?
So what you do
I know what I'm doing before I commit.
No, that's smart. Phil has been tricked before. He learned this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll do it. What? You said you do it.
So here's what you do.
No, I have been married twice.
You take you take a pound of rice, you dump it in the grass, and you pick it up one grain at a time. No one's tried it so far.
Yeah, well, my question is this. Why?
There's no point whatsoever. It's just,
Okay.
that's the whole point. It's totally
You have to do it with chopsticks?
no. That's only if you buy my elite course. That's for ultimate mental toughness.
Yeah.
You do it.
The Jedi Force.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? And when you talk about cost and value, you know what comes to mind? Comes to mind big homes. Now you look around here, you know, especially in actually my neighborhood, not in my particular neighborhood. I'm in like the Section 8 housing of our community. But if you go to the other homes, I mean, they're like 2-3 times the size of my place. Some of them 4 times. Okay, so this house maybe cost $10 million. Okay, you got a $10 million house there, 20,000 square feet, whatever it is, right? Nice chunk of property, the whole thing, right?
Right.
Now, you know what? It's not worth $10 million. It costs $10 million.
Actually, it is worth at least a little more than $10 million to the guy who bought it. That's
Who bought it, right. I'm saying a lot of times they build them. Now, when you go to sell it, then you see what it's worth. Because I'll tell you, none of those houses sell for what they cost.
Now that is a tough one.
Right. This is the issue. So look, there's a certain price point when you build a house, when you buy a house and make it custom and so forth. Beyond a certain dollar amount, you're not going to get the money you put in.
Well, and keep in mind, the only reason people are doing this in the first place is what I was talking about before. Comparison is the root of all suffering. And there's actually a passage in the Tao Te Ching that I really like that talks about this. Mm-hmm. And he goes, Lao Tzu goes, must you like what others like and hate what others hate? How ridiculous. It's like,
I know.
Because we don't know any different. Like it's kind of like hierarchical, right? People want to move up in the hierarchy. People want to be loved. People want good attention. They want people to think that they're like strong or rich or I don't know, any of these like number of good things. So we end up like in this comparison game rather than like thinking, going like, whoa, hold on a second. Like, what do I need for like a life that I design myself?
Yeah.
I mean, because look, I used to want an Audi R8. That was like my white whale. I remember I was living in this condo in Del Mar, and I was never there. I was traveling like 30 times a year just teaching court. I was like a maniac.
Oh.
I was like on the plane, off the plane, on the plane, off the plane, like picking up gold everywhere I went, basically. And I just had this Audi R8 like in my mind, like I wanted this thing. And then by the time it was an option, it seemed like the dumbest thing I could do. Just because it wasn't really like what I wanted. Like it wasn't something that was. Now I have friends who love cars. Props to them for getting cars and doing the car thing. But it takes a while to like know yourself and sound like yourself and realize who you are. Like you don't know what you want. Like most people just want whatever will make the people they like happy. Like whatever make my parents happy, whatever make my spouse happy, that's what I want. Okay. Yeah. Like why
it's funny
in the first place? Yeah. It's not because I wanted a reliable car. It's not because I wanted the fastest car. It was because I wanted to drive down the street, and if there were any pretty ladies, I wanted them to look at me the way that I look at them anyway.
Yeah. And you know it's so funny. I'll tell you straight up, that doesn't work. And it means I'll tell you because
dog is better.
Yeah. When I first got divorced, I always wanted a BMW convertible. I just thought it was the coolest thing, right? So you know what I did? When I was done, I celebrated. I went out and I got one. I got a 330 CI convertible. Annual.
Right, Doug? That's a big car, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I don't have that now, but I don't know, because I was in the corporate world. It was a cool thing to get.
Don't worry, Phil. I think you're totally manly now.
Yeah. And you know what I did? After a year, I sold it. And then I went and I got the Jeep Cherokee, the boxy one.
It's a good car.
Yeah. Okay. I had more luck with women when I had that than with that stupid BMW.
Well, because they were like, "Oh, that's a guy there."
Yeah. And that's the only time I ever bought a vehicle like that because I have my my Ram 1500 pickup, and then I got my Challenger with the Hemi and the 6-speed. That thing, I love that. That is like my car. I love that car. That's just like that's just I love that car. But anyway, like what we were talking about, that you look at the homes, and why do they buy in that house? Like you're saying, why do they want to get that? And if you look at the cost versus the value, it costs a lot, but the value is only what someone else is willing to pay for it.
Always.
Because, it's worth this. It's not worth anything until someone wants to buy it. Hate to tell you.
Yeah.
It's not worth anything until somebody wants to buy it.
Yeah. I mean, you really, yeah, no, you're right. There's nothing really to add about that. I think we get stuck a lot of times thinking we need a certain thing because, then we'll be happy, or then people will like us, or then, and then, and then, and then, and then,
No.
some kind of good thing will happen if I have this widget, basically. And, when you say it like that, it sounds utterly ridiculous. But the reality is that's how a lot of us live. We just go based on the comparisons that were delivered to us, and people tend to be more gas or more brakes, and people also tend to do more or less the same thing that their parents did or the exact opposite. And we're just kind of, it's repetitive cycles, so the thing that people want, it's not often because that's the thing that makes you feel the best. I mean, dude, I will take a hot dog with a friend over like a 10-course meal with people I don't really know every single time. And, when you talk to somebody one-on-one, everybody feels that way. Like I got friends who are not that wealthy. I got friends with like 200 million plus bucks. And we all like the same stuff. We just want to like hang out with our friends, move around a little bit, eat some food, need to be fancy, like go trolling on the beach or something. I mean, it's no different actually, but I think people do such a bad job like laying out what their principles are. Like, what are your values? What do you really care about? What are the meaningful things to like chase afterward?
Yeah. It's funny, like there's certain things that like ever said, oh, you ever play golf? This, that thing. Listen, I don't like golf. I'm not going to play. I don't care if someone plays it. God bless them. That's the thing. My wife and I were at a party a little while back, and there's a whole there's like 7 or 8 guys, whatever, sitting there, and I'm just sipping my seltzer, eating a sandwich. And she's like, God, how can I'm relatively talkative guy. And she's like, God, how come you?
No.
Really, yeah. I'm an affable guy, gift of gab, I like talk. But these guys are sitting there talking about their golf. Okay, so I could have either just walked away, kind of douchey, and then go talk to women. I didn't want to do that. I just want to sit there. I have nothing to add to the golf game. What am I going to talk about? Okay, so I didn't say anything. What am I going to do? Say, oh yeah, hey, that's good, dude. Yeah, I throw knives. It's like, but they know nothing about me throwing knives and why I would do that as opposed to playing golf.
Yeah, probably more people play golf than throw knives, is my guess.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah.
I think you probably are like shrinking your potential audience with your hobbies.
Exactly. So I just let them talk. I didn't say anything. It was easy for me.
Look, that's the beauty.
Plus, I was hungry.
I think everyone should do the things they like to do. I got friends who really like golf. I got other friends who really like kite surfing. Crazy waves where there are sharks. And I'm like,
that would be fun, man.
That's all you.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think I keep wanting to bring it back to like, what should the people listening to this like do in the new year? And I think about, pick up a stick every day, pick up a pen every single day. Don't worry about exactly how it goes down. I mean, I talk in my coaching programs about like having good like questions and frameworks and like fill in the blank kind of stuff. But the reality is, if you just like touch the pen to the paper for a half hour a day, like you'll figure it out. But I also think, maybe one of the most important things is the framing of like what's happening right now. So, we frame our sense of reality with words. We say like, oh, this was good, or this was bad, or this was lucky, or this was like unlucky. And I think that's probably the biggest risk to somebody right now is the victim mindset. Thinking, because I mean, look, the reality is most people like sex, but almost nobody likes rape. Very select few people on both sides of that equation, right?
No, it's not a good thing.
But the reality, and everybody agrees with that. But, people are very quick to assume that like one-sided decision-making from the leaders is like totally justified, like trying to define what essential means or trying to say like, this is okay for you, but not okay for you. And I say, you must do this. So it's like, okay, well, there's my livelihood. Now what, am I dependent on you? Whatever. So you could essentially say that a lot of people have been either like financially or psychologically raped, if you wanted to use like really strong imagery. But what's interesting about that, and you know, I can hardly think of a more sensitive topic than rape, and it's so it's like perfect. We're getting right into it, right? But it happens to people all over the world, and some people recover just fine, and some people don't. Some people are like, you know, I had a girlfriend who had that happen, and she had night terrors from it. It was really bad. And other people just kind of move through and they're fine. And they come out the other side as a victor and not a victim. And I think when you look back on this year, it's going to be very popular because you get like a free psychic energy if you say, oh, 2020 was the worst ever. I hate this, blah, you know, and you just kind of like perpetuate this story like, oh, it's so bad. Can't wait for it to be over, like all this stuff. And I just think like you're shooting yourself in the foot with that type of talk. Like you might believe that, but if you do, like all you're doing is like sentencing yourself to more of a victim mentality.
Yeah, because you think just because the calendar flips, that all of a sudden all the bad stuff's going to go away. Okay, maybe
or stay forever based
or
on
stay forever. No, it's not going to. You know what it is? It's what you make it, and the more independent you can be, the more in control of what is going on with you, the better off you are. Like, look, I mean, I can sit here and bitch and whine and moan about what happened to me, but you know what? I'm glad it happened.
Oh, dude,
I'm glad it happened.
If you don't think this is the best time ever to be alive still, then you're a fair weather fan. You know, you need to check your reality a little bit because look, we got pocket supercomputers, we got refrigeration. Everybody is mostly cooperating. Not even with all this craziness that has happened legally, people aren't really starving. People are like trying to work it out. Everybody's doing their best. But start from like a negative mindset. You are like handcuffing yourself. You are sentencing yourself. And I'm telling you, that's a popular take. People are going to give you a lot of attention on that.
I know.
I mean, but don't do it. It's not worth that like cheap, like, oh, you poor baby. Like, you know, oh yeah, I know what you mean. It's so hard. Like, look, every day, 24 hours is a new one. It rolls over. Yesterday you is dead. It doesn't even matter. And some people hate that. Some people hate that you got to start over and do it all again. They're just hoping that they can get one day and have it all like last forever. But
no, it's not a movie.
The reality is, if I gave someone like a special mission to like fulfill their dream of creating the book they wanted to create, and the deadline was 30 days, and if they didn't complete it in 30 days, they would die, I guarantee they would get it done. I guarantee they would get it done. They got a pocket supercomputer plugged into the internet. You don't even have to know how to read. You can just put the camera in front of your face, talk about the thing that you know, and it will eventually like create something. But you know, it's kind of like I say, nothing works unless you do.
Yep. So, but basically, if we can leave people with something, take action and be responsible for yourself.
Yeah, you don't even need to do that much. Like it's actually not hard. Like, man, I have plenty of thoughts, but dude, I have like 3 ice cream and coffees every day. I eat prosciutto and ice cream like it's going out of style. I don't have the best habits, but I do exercise and write every day. I start my day when I wake up. Like on paper, my daily habits look like really bad, but my output is very good. So my point is like, you don't have to do it a certain way, but every day is a blank slate. So you can't just like be reliving the glory days of all those push-ups you used to be able to do, you know? It's a new day.
Gotta get up and do it. Well, Max, as always, Always great talking with you, whether it's on a podcast or when we do our little sessions, hanging out and BSing, catching up, or hopefully we'll get together for a seminar this year. We'll do something.
That would be fun.
Yeah. Let's think. Yeah, I'll definitely be down for that. So we'll think of something. But and of course, Dougie Fresh, my partner in crime over here. Guys, great. I'm looking forward to 2021, and I'm looking forward to build on what I start in 2020.
Boom.
Let's just take it from there. Take the ball and run with it. All right.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Excellent. Good. Master Phil here. Master Phil in your corner, and we're signing off. Strength and honor. Woo!